Hey everyone, welcome to the Williams Selyem webinar. So happy to see you today. My name is Scott Herman. I'm the Director of Hospitality here at Williams Selyem. I sure hope you can hear me this time because I muted myself last time, but I think you can hear me now, and I'm so happy to see so many people joining us from all over the country. And I saw a list of people and the wines that they're opening today. And I love to see kind of the breadth of depth of what everyone is enjoying. I saw someone doing a side-by-side comparison of our Chenin Blanc with a French Chenin Blanc from Loire Valley. That is awesome. This one really touched my heartstrings here from David on Facebook. David said he's opening up his very last Williams Selyem Rosé of the year. I feel like that's a year where I really have to like take a moment, take a step back, and just kind of enjoy, because that was such a good rosé. That Vin Gris from 2019 was amazing. And it's kind of sad to know, okay, that's the end of the year, but we're going to have a new one next year. It's kind of like the end of new beginnings. And I think we can all agree that we're ready for new beginnings here in the near future. So, so good to see you. It's also good to see a lot of repeat people that have been joining us the last couple of webinars. This is, what is this now? I've almost lost count. Our fourth webinar now. We're coming to you monthly live here from Healdsburg, California. And I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names. And so good to see all of you from all the way even from Alabama, East Coast, people that are going to be picking up at Millbrook this weekend. So good to see all of you. And thank you for joining us today. We've got a fun webinar for you. I've got another trivia question for you shortly, and we've got our top 5 tips of holiday pairings and servings that we're going to be giving to you at the end of the webinar. So stay with us, have some fun, enjoy a glass of whatever wine you have open, and let's get this party started. All right, so today we're going to be talking about our holiday pairings and traditions, some of our favorites here from the hospitality team. And you're going to get to see and hear from some of the other members of the hospitality team, which some of you have even met before when you've come and visited the facility. So it'll be fun to bring them on and have you be able to see their smiling faces again. But I wanted to real quick do a trivia question. Now, last month we had Brett who won the trivia question, won a signed map from our winemaker, Jeff Mangahas. We have a brand new vineyard map that we're going to be introducing here at the estate, and we'd love to share a signed copy for you as well if you can answer this trivia question. For some of our longtime list members, this is going to be probably on the easier side for you, but that's okay. I'm going to throw it out there anyway. And I'll mention really quick, it's kind of fun to see, list members from old and new here on the list. I can see some people that are on the newer side and some people that have been list members with us for 30 plus years. We thank you so much, whether you're new to the winery or have been with us for a long time. We really appreciate you. And let's see if you can figure this one out. So Williams Selyem is known for our Pinot Noir. We make a lot of them right now. We make 25. That's really what put us on the map. But that was not the first varietal that was released by the winery and by our original winemaker, Bert Williams. So if you can name the varietal that was first released by Williams Selyem, and extra credit if you can name the vineyard from which that varietal was grown, you will win the grand prize. So I'm going to take a second to see if anyone knows off the top of their head what that might be. All right. We have a couple people that came in right away. Looks like Ed Hubbard, you were the first one to get it. And you were right, Ed, it was Zinfandel. I haven't seen, someone even mentioned what the vineyard was correctly too. Good job. So Shirley, we're going to have to give Ed and Shirley both the map because that was pretty impressive. You both came up with that really quickly. So Ed Hubbard, if you can email us a tours at Williams Selyem Winery. We'd love to get you a signed copy of our vineyard map. And then Shirley as well, shout out to you. You did an awesome job. That is the vineyard. That is from the Martinelli family, right off of River Road here in the heart of the Russian River Valley. And that was the very first wine we ever released, was our Zinfandel. That was one of Bert Williams' true loves growing up. And we've been making it from the very beginning, along with some of our lovely Pinot Noirs and other varietals. So congratulations to you too. We look forward to sending you those goodies shortly, and congratulations. But for today, we want to talk about the holidays. It is the holiday season. There is a crispness in the air. We love this time of year when you get the fireplace going, you got a glass of wine in hand, sharing quality time with people that you love. And we wanted to talk a little bit about our top tips and traditions from the hospitality team. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear from several of them, going to go back and forth. And then again, I'm going to have some top tips, the top 5 tips from the hospitality team for the year 2020 that we'll share with you at the very end. So stay tuned. If you have any questions that pop up during this presentation, during this broadcast, make sure to add it in the chat. And we're going to be saving a little bit of time at the very end to answer some of your hot questions. So have some fun, sit back, and let's hear from our very first presenter, Carly. Carly, why don't you come on in? And love to hear about what you have to say about the holidays.
Thank you so much, Scott, and welcome everyone. We're so excited to share some of our favorite tips and tricks and holiday traditions with you. Obviously, everyone who works here, we are definitely wine fans. And one of my favorite traditions around the holidays is actually, funny enough, not related to wine. It is, I grew up in a very much a not wine drinking family. We were more beer drinkers, if you will. But one of the big traditions that we followed is we are very much into our food traditions. And so, every year for the holidays, we would make the same dishes, same people. Aunt Missy would make mashed potatoes. My mother would make green bean casserole. It was kind of her thing. Anything else might have been a bit too complicated. She would admit that herself. And my grandmother would make her cranberry jello salad, which, if you can kind of picture a pastel pink kind of wiggly mass filled with, nuts and celery in the shape of a bundt pan. Definitely not one of my favorite foods. And it kind of became the running joke in the family that she would make this every year. And it was the running joke in the family that you would have to put some on your plate, kind of push it around a little bit, maybe take a bite, and obviously, tell her how wonderful it was, even though I'm fairly certain no one in the entire family could ever stand to eat that. It was pretty horrible, but that was her thing, and she made it every year. And so actually the year after she passed away, that Thanksgiving, my aunt made a cranberry jello salad in her memory, and we toasted with pushing a little bit of that around on our plates. These days, I've grown up into a very much a wine lover, and with my family all down on the Central Coast, I typically celebrate Friendsgiving, if you will. I used to attend a gathering that was, the ticket in the door was a magnum or larger of wine and your favorite Thanksgiving dish to share, which you can imagine things got a bit raucous after a bit, especially one year. I remember a friend of mine brought a 3-liter of Rotorua Estate sparkling wine. Absolutely incredible. But you can imagine that got a bit dangerous once we started pulling the corks on quite a few larger bottles. But I'm always a big advocate of the bigger the bottle, the better. But also sparkling wine. Sparkling wine for the holidays is very near and dear to my heart. It's such a versatile wine to pair with lots of different things. Anything from, caviar and champagne to fried chicken and champagne. It really is quite versatile. So, this year being slightly different, we won't be opening up quite so many big bottles, with our smaller family gathering. But it is important to kind of hold on to the traditions. And so we will be opening a magnum of Williams Selyem Estate Pinot Noir, as well as a magnum of sparkling, I'm hoping. So anyway, those are my favorite traditions. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, cheers to you and your family. And I hope you have a happy holiday season.
Hi, my name is Sean Karcher. I've been with Williams Selyem a little over a year, almost a year and a half now. And like Carly, one of my favorite traditions around the holidays is champagne, specifically champagne and oysters. I grew up as an only child and still am. And my parents and I, we would get 6 or 7 dozen oysters every year. Half of them we would eat raw with the spicy mignonette called hogwash that Hog Island Oyster Company makes, and drink champagne. And we would do that for most of the day while everything was cooking. Made the end of the day's cooking a little bit more difficult. But for the second half of the day, I would make a compound butter with bourbon and chipotle, keep that spice going. And that's about the time every year we would switch to red wine, middle of the day after a couple bottles of bubbles. And, you know, it's this butter, it needs something big to go with it. They're barbecued oysters, bourbon, chipotle, just these big spices. And so usually something like Zinfandel or, you know, something, Syrahs were always a good option. This year, something different. A new wine from Williams Selyem. Oh, can't really see it. But it's a Carignan from a new vineyard that we're working with. 2018 was the first vintage. It's very, very old vine Carignan. It's just this big, rich, huge nose. And I think it's going to be a great addition to this year's party.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Conley. I'm one of the tasting salon hosts here at Williams Selyem. I want to talk to you guys about one of my favorite things to eat this time of year, and that's French onion soup. And this is one of the easiest things to make at home. There's probably a lot of people out there that don't like to cook, don't think they can cook, but I can promise you can cook this. It's 1,000 recipes on the internet. It's like 6 ingredients, and I promise you have all these ingredients in your house. The great thing is you can make a ton of it and freeze it and have it, 10 times in the next couple months, and it's always great. And the best thing that it's great with is Pinot Noir. And I've had it so many times. I actually was thinking about this webinar today and thinking about talking about French onion soup the last couple of days, and I actually wound up making it at home last night because I had it on the brain. And I actually had it with our Luella's Garden Pinot Noir, which we grow right here just outside the window on our estate. And that's just one single clone. It's the Calera clone. And for some reason, that just works so good with French onion soup. Other of our Pinot Noirs work really well with that as well. But I'll tell you, that's just the thing this time of year between the holidays. I can eat it every couple of days. It's an easy thing to eat. And even if you don't want to cook it, there's a ton of restaurants that you can go out. They always have French onion soup. If you think about it, you get a $10, $12 bowl of soup and $100 bottle of Pinot Noir. I mean, that's only like $110 or $11 dinner. That's a pretty cheap dinner. And so I'd encourage you to try French onion soup. Make it at home. Go out to eat it. You'll love it. It's one of the best things. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joey Peterson. I'm an estate concierge with Williams Selyem Winery. I've been with the Williams Selyem for about 9 months now, starting right at the start of COVID. So I didn't really meet colleagues and associates with Williams Selyem until Memorial Day weekend, until returning to the winery. Now, with the holidays, I'm all about tradition and having a larger family with 4 older siblings, and me being the youngest. It's always been the youngest being beaten up all the time, and now I'm the lucky one with all the wine. But family's ever growing. We always have traditions like playing Monopoly, playing Texas Hold'em poker, learning at a young age, and ending up beating my dad, my 2 older brothers, and my mom, playing with actual money. It was real sweet. And now with a 6 or a 5-year-old nephew and a 6-month-old niece, the holidays will definitely be different with this year with the pandemic and all that. However, doing it safely. We'll enjoy holidays together and enjoying a lot of good wine. Traditionally, we always play football first thing in the morning, rain or shine, regardless. It's a nice way to start the morning, as well as going out and about throughout our neighborhood, just taking it easy, playing with the pets, having 4 dogs in the family, always eventful, always 1 or 2 arguments, but that's to be expected, as well as over the years with wineries and hospitality in Healdsburg and Geyserville. I've become responsible for bringing the wine. This year, enjoying a lot of sparkling. Carly already mentioned it, the Roeder, the Billicart. My personal preference is Billicart Rosé is for breakfast. Vin Gris of Rosé. Like Scott mentioned, the 2019 is a spectacular one. I'm lucky to say I have 2 bottles of it left. My patience is run out. It will be opened on Thanksgiving, as well as some of the Heinz Chardonnay is one of my favorites as well. And the West Side Road Neighbors and the Terre de Permisio, as well as the Luellas. Obviously not being drinking all on that day because I have work the next day as well. However, with this year, it's going to be a little different with the pandemic. Doing it safely, but still keeping tradition going and creating new traditions with the new additions to my family. And I hope you all have a happy holiday and safe as well. And we look forward to hosting you in the future.
Hi there, I'm Kathleen Deshad-Ned, tasting salon host want to talk to you today about making the case for Zin at the holiday table. I know when I'm hosting guests here at the estate, I'm often extolling the virtues of Pinot Noir and what a fantastic food pairing wine it is. You know, Pinot can go with such a wide variety of foods, from vegetarian dishes made with mushrooms to king salmon, pork, duck, lamb, darker poultry. It's just a great food pairing wine. And from what I've heard too, Julia Child's favorite varietal was Pinot Noir. But I think sometimes when we get onto our holiday traditions and our holiday dishes, we've got things in there that might not be quite so friendly to our Pinots. I know we love to pull our Pinots out for special occasions, and I still think there's plenty of those. But let's talk about serving some Zin. And I want to talk a little bit about what I did last Christmas. I had been intent on roasting a goose for Christmas. And as I was formulating my menu, thoughts of doing Eastern European style approach to goose and serving the German braised red cabbage. And all of a sudden, my plan to really serve this Pinot kind of went down the drain. I thought, ooh, that vinegar in the cabbage, not to mention the sweetness, would be a killer to the Pinot. But boy, Zin came to the rescue. You know, our Zins are lovely because we pick them on the early side. It preserves that wonderful acidity so they can cut through the richness of food. Certainly when you're serving a goose, you want to keep that in mind. But it really stood up to that sweet and sour red cabbage. You know, you've got vinegar in there, you've got brown sugar in there. It's just a wonderful dish, but boy, Zin brought the entire meal together. And as much as I had looked forward to serving that Pinot, I'm glad that the choice was Zin. And I think that sometimes we need to remember when we're looking at these Burgundian varietals, think about the food in Burgundy. It's really pretty straightforward, fairly savory, not a lot of sweet notes, not a lot of acid notes, certainly not a lot of crazy spice, global fusion, things like that. And I know that, you know, in addition to the holidays, people want to serve traditional stuff. Some people like to shake things up and start to play around with traditional foods by doing a new twist on them. If you've got Asian condiments, if you've got spice, if you want to use chutneys, if you want to use tamarind, all things like that might overwhelm a Pinot Noir, think about Zins. Our Zins are all great and are wonderful food accompaniments. So have a wonderful holiday, folks. Have a great time at the holiday table. And yes, you'll have plenty of time to pull out those great Pinots and enjoy them with friends and family.
Thanks, Kathleen. Hi, I'm Sandrew. I'm also a tasting salon lead host here. And when I heard Joey talking, it reminded me of some of my family traditions, which I had 4 older sisters. And so invariably we would put together some kind of Christmas play, if you will. And that's before we went out to midnight mass. So it was quite an evening filled with lots of things. But I want to pick up where Kathleen left off on Zinfandel. I agree with her wholeheartedly on all those suggestions, especially she was doing a deep dive in some of the spices. And, you know, traditionally, Zinfandel was the go-to wine for Thanksgiving because we thought that was our one and only true native grape here in California. So it made a lot of sense. But of course, the Croatians have always made a strong argument that it was their grape originally, just didn't have enough vowels in it. So we didn't know how to pronounce it. So we changed the name to Zinfandel. Now, I don't know if you know this, but we make 4 Zinfandels here. They're all single vineyard designates. We make the Saitone, the Papera, the Bacigalupi, and Finucchi wood. So another one of our traditions in the Montgomery household was that sweet potato souffle. You know, the funny little blows on top. I don't know what that's all about. And I understand as a single parent, trying to get your kids to eat their veggies. And I've certainly played a few tricks on my sons to get them to eat their veggies. But marshmallows? Really? Come on. So we're going to take that traditional dish and instead we're going to do some crispy skins on those sweet potatoes and roast them up in the oven, maybe a little additional butter there and get them very crispy. And then we're going to take all that meat of the sweet potato or yams, you can use either one, and with the traditional brown sugar and butter, remember grandma's recipes always doubled up those elements. So we're going to mix that all together, but we're also going to put in some Asian 5-spice, those baking spices that make the kitchen smell so good this time of year. So that's going to pull out the cinnamon, the nutmeg, the clove, the star anise, and the ginger makes for a nice little twist in there as well. So those kind of baking spices and elements of forest floor, if you will, wood elements. So perfect for this time of year for taking an autumn walk out into the woods. So I'm going to recommend that we go with our Fanuki wood Zinfandel. This is the 2018. And I see some of the folks in the chat box, you've pulled out some Zinfandel. So good on you. You didn't say which one specifically. I saw one was Jackass Hill, but that may or may not have been ours. Of course, that was the first wine that Burt Williams ever made. Lino Martinelli was kind enough to give him some surplus Zinfandel grapes. So let's stick with that American tradition and enjoy some Zinfandel. Cheers. Scott?
Hello again. Thank you everyone for sharing your favorite tips, pairings, or traditions with you and your loved ones. So good to hear from all of you. And a lot of the faces you saw are the faces of our hospitality team that would take care of you during a visit to the estate. So if that happens to fit into your schedule in the near future, we'd love to see you. And for those who are visiting us or watching this broadcast from afar, if you want to do a virtual tasting with us, we can also do that in the future with you as well. So you can email us at tours@williamselyem.com. We'd be happy to take care of you either way. So I wanted to do I definitely want to share our top 5 tips for pairings, serving suggestions for the holidays. I'm going to get into that in a second, but I wanted to go a couple questions that I saw during the presentations from the hospitality folks. See if I can answer a couple of those. If you have any questions at the moment, you can go ahead and throw them into the chat right now. I did see someone mention, what's the best wine to pair with smoked turkey? I know that everyone has their traditional way of how they would cook turkey during the holidays. Smoking is popular. Deep frying, if you're careful, can be great too. And for those stronger types of preparations where you're going to get the strong smoky characteristics, you're going to want one of our Pinot Noirs on the bigger side of the spectrum. That's one of the things that I love about the Williams Selyem portfolio is even though we have what I would consider a house style of our Pinot Noirs, there is quite a range, a spectrum of flavors that we cover with all 25 plus of our Pinot Noirs. And I saw someone mention the Block 10 Mass Selection. That's definitely what I would go with as well. That's one of my favorites. It's a single block from our Williams Selyem Estate Vineyard that has a lot of like smoky and spicy characteristics and a little bit more structure that can really stand up to some of the stronger flavors on the holiday meal table. So great suggestion. Go with that. I'm already hungry thinking about it. And let's see. I saw one other question that I wanted to a lot of people throwing out what they were going to be enjoying over the holidays and where they're watching from, and that's always so great to see too. So good. With that, let's go ahead and dive straight into our tips. We have a lot of wisdom we love to share here whenever you visit. That's one of the reasons why we always do our private experiences, so we can really dive into it one-on-one with you and your guests, and so we can really get a chance to share any knowledge or just have fun and enjoy some of the great offerings here at Williams Selyem. But here's some of the tips that the team and I talked about that we want to share with you for this holiday season. So the first one, number 5 of 5 is going to be nail your serving temperature. This tends to be one of the biggest things I notice with folks that are not as familiar with serving wine with the group is that they tend to serve their white wines too cold and their red wines too warm. And that really can change the flavor profile of the wine quite drastically. In fact, one of the kind of famous restaurant tricks is if they're going to be serving a wine that is not very good, but trying to get away with it anyway, they just chill that down as far as it can go or as low as it can go, and you can't really taste it anymore. And so that's not what we want to do with our white wines, especially the white wines here at Williams Selyem that we spend a lot of time and effort making into a beautiful bouquet for you. So you definitely want to warm up that temperature a little bit, and you want to cool down your reds a little bit too. If you drink your reds too warm, the alcohol and the tannin tend to take over the flavor profile of that wine. And so the cooler you get that wine, the more you get it into that sweet spot where you can really enjoy the balance of the texture of the wine as well as the aromatic quality. And so the good rule of thumb is when you're serving wines, go ahead and put your white wines in the fridge, and you want to take those out about 20 to 30 minutes before service, and you want to actually put your red wines in the fridge about 20 to 30 minutes before service, and then take them out when you're ready to go, and then you should have the perfect serving temperature. For us at the winery, we like to serve our wines at about 55 to 60 degrees, whether they're Chardonnay or Pinot Noir or reds, and then just a little bit cooler for some of the other whites, such as our Chenin Blanc or our Gewürztraminer. And so, yeah, I saw someone say, what temp should the white wines be? And I would say about 50 degrees is a good ballpark when you're going to be working with that, 50 to 55 degrees. And you're really going to be able to enjoy the full aromatic quality that that wine has to offer in that instance. I also see a question about any reason to decant Pinot Noir from Kathleen. Thank you for the question, Kathleen. The short answer is go for it. Wines will definitely benefit with a little bit of air. Typically speaking, decanting is, along with introducing air, it's also meant to help either soften the tannin structure by introducing it to air, or it's also used for some older vintages to take out some of the sediment of the wine too. So in this case with Pinot Noir, typically sediment is not an issue, but it doesn't hurt to get some airflow into the wine and really wake up the aromatic quality. And that's one of the things I love about Pinot Noir, is how that aromatic quality can really develop over time. It almost unfolds like a blooming flower, or like, you know, digging into an onion and the layers of the onion, as they say. And so go ahead, go for it. You live your life, and if you want to decant, that's definitely not going to hurt the wine, or if you decide to do that. Let's go to tip number 4. So tip number 4 from the hospitality team is, don't forget dessert. Dessert is fun. If you like dessert, if you like sweet things at all, you probably like dessert wine. And one of the things I find when people visit and we get to have one-on-one time with them is they can sometimes shy away from dessert wines specifically. And I think you're missing out if you're doing that. Dessert wines can be delicious. There's a huge range of options. You know, here at the winery, we have 2 specifically that we work with. We do a late harvest Gewürztraminer, and then we also work with port made from some traditional Portuguese varietals. Both delicious in their own right, but they really can be a beautiful addition to the holiday table. And one of the things that's really fun about them as well is, you know, you can pair them with a lot of the classic desserts that you find on the holiday table, but you can also pair them with savory elements as well. So if you have a nice cheese board that you want to finish the meal with, pairing that with a little late harvest Gewürztraminer or a little port, so beautiful. And it makes a beautiful way to end the tasting, and you don't feel like you're so full, you know, after you've eaten all the delicious main courses. You feel like, I can't get one more bite in. But you don't have to get another bite in. You can just drink a delicious dessert to finish up the meal. So don't forget the dessert. All right, tip number 3. The Durand. If you have older bottles and you sometimes struggle to open them, you go in and you crack the cork and you got a little piece left behind, that can be a problem. And that there's always been, kind of a gift of how to get that last little chunk out of the bottle. I feel like it's a rite of passage as a wine lover to know how to do that. But we don't have to struggle anymore because we have what's called the Durand. If you haven't seen this before, this is a really great tool to be able to open older vintage bottles, as it has a double tool. It has the corkscrew, and it also has, oh my gosh, I completely brain farted. I'll remember it at 2 o'clock in the morning. The SO, thank you. You have the SO to be able to open that up. And when you use them in concert together, you're able to open up a bottle of wine, no matter the cork type, without issue. And it's a great tool. It is an investment, but consider it a gift option for some of your wine lovers in your life as something to look to for the future. So that's a great thing to look at if you want to get a great tool to open older bottles in your collection. All right, so tip number 2. A lot of questions we get are about wine pairings. What wines are going to pair with all the different variety of wines that we have at the dinner table during the holiday season? One of the things I love about the holidays, whether it be Thanksgiving or whether it be otherwise in December, there's such a wide variety. everyone's got their go-to dishes, their traditions, their kind of favorite side dishes, and there's usually such a wide breadth and depth that you're not going to have really one wine that's going to pair with that variety of foods on the table. And so the best thing to do is to really gear towards high acid wines. High acid wines are going to be a great accompaniment, especially if they're on the lower side of tannin, to go with most of the foods that you're going to have at your dinner table. So for whites, that's going to be like your unoaked Chardonnay, your Gruner Veltlingers, your Gewürztraminers. You've got, or bubbles. You heard a couple of my hosts mention about champagne. Bubbles go with a lot of different dishes, especially side dishes or hors d'oeuvres that you're going to have at the holiday table. So definitely lean towards that. That's going to be a great accompaniment. On the red side, you heard the case for Zinfandel. One of the elements that both Kathleen and Sandra were discussing was the high acid element, along with some of the fruity sweetness. Zinfandel is going to be great. Pinot Noir, of course, is going to be very versatile, and even Sangiovese Chianti. But regardless of what your preferences of flavor are going to be, the high acidity is going to be a great accompaniment to your holiday dinner table this holiday season. And then last but not least, tip number 1, open the good stuff. I hear list members mention, I want to wait for a special occasion before I open this particular bottling or that bottling. And I think we can all agree after a year like this, you deserve it. We deserve it. Don't wait on those great bottles. Enjoy the day, seize the moment, and dive into that cellar and grab that bottle that you've been waiting on opening up. I know we all have something fun waiting for such a special occasion. And sometimes here in wine country, we'll even make excuses for that special occasion to open up, whether it be, Wine Down Wednesday, open up something really special, and the special occasion ends up being opening that bottle of wine. So hopefully during this holiday season, you find a great opportunity to open something special with loved ones and enjoy all the gifts. And though there's been a lot of hardship and a lot of craziness this year, hopefully you have something to be thankful for. And sharing a great bottle of wine is a great way to share your thanks and your gratitude for the people that are special in your life. So I'll take a couple more questions, but I'll say just really quick as well, as we're talking about the holiday seasons, we really hope and pray that you guys are staying safe out there, that you're making smart decisions as we think about how to approach the holiday season. And, if you have trouble figuring out what your new tradition is going to involve, hopefully good food and good wine are included in that equation because that makes everything else better. So let's see if we have any other questions to answer before I go. One of the questions is, how do I get one of those sweet hats? Thank you, Thomas. So if you are interested in a hat, we do have, I think, a couple more for sale. You can email us at tours@williamselyem.com, and we can definitely help you out with that. What about Chardonnays for Thanksgiving dinner? We have a question from Brad about that. That's a good question too. Chardonnays are great. I do love Chardonnay with some of the offerings. You want to make sure that, again, you want to lean towards the higher acidity options on the Chardonnay side of things, and that's going to do you right with the different dishes you may be offering. And then last but not least, we had Mark Peterson ask, what is a virtual tasting? Good question. If you asked me that a year ago, I definitely would not have been able to answer that because I didn't know what a virtual tasting was. I think that's a beautiful result of this very unusual year that we have here in wine country, where wineries are offering the opportunity to taste wines at the comfort of your own home with an educator or a host at a particular winery. So for us here at Williams Selyem, if you buy a couple bottles of wine, usually 3 is the minimum, and we'll schedule a time to go through those wines with you and do an experience just like as if you were here with us live and in person, but rather than that, you'd be safe at the comfort of your own home. So if you are interested in that, you can, again, shoot us an email at tours@williamselyem.com, and we'd be happy to set you up with a fun virtual tasting in the near future. But with that, again, it's so good to see all these great names, all these great comments from around the country. We so appreciate you, our list members. You're the reason why we do this. And we're so excited about we're finishing up the harvest. We're bottling a lot of delicious wines from the 19 vintage that we're looking forward to releasing for you next year, since we're pretty much sold out of the 18s. But keep in touch. Let us know if you need anything. And all of our love and gratitude to you for this holiday season. Be safe. All the best. Have a very, very happy holiday. Bye.